Hello, here I'm going to show you how we can include references in documents that are written in Markdown. So we're going to be using the BibTeX reference manager, which is a reference manager that was designed for LaTeX, and it works very nicely with Markdown when you compile with pandoc. So this is quite a very nice way to manage your references. I'm going to show you how to do it now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clone the repository that we are going to be working with, and I'm going to add some references into this. So here's the repository. Let me clone it on my desktop by going git clone paste enter. And now I have it. Now the other thing we need is the folder with the data in it, which I could either download. Well, okay, so let's do that. Make a directory called data. So I have data and I have soil thaw analysis. Soil thaw analysis is my GitHub repository. So if I go into data scripts in here and I run these, get pflux, that's going to download the pflux data. Hopefully that won't take too long. And then I'll run the other one and get the soil moisture data. But I'm going to skip this for the purposes of this video, okay? So let me stop that. Let me just quickly remove that pickle file. It shouldn't be there. And you have to imagine that I just ran those scripts, whereas in fact what I'm going to do is copy that folder from somewhere else. Please. So there I have my data folder, and inside my data folder I have all of the data that I'm going to be using. So that's fine. So there we are. Now into the repository. Now in the repository I've got this completed analysis folder, which has got 2 Python scripts in it, but nothing else. And I have to run those Python scripts to generate the figures. So that's one, and that should be the next. So now I've got these 2 .png files, that's good. So now I'm going to go into write up, I'm going to go into figures, and I'm going to run get figures.py, and that has created fig1 and fig2.py, so the figure files are there. So now I should be able to type make, and that will compile draft.md, the markdown document, using pandoc. And thinking about it, and now I can open the PDF file, and this is what we have. Alright, so it's basically a more or less empty file with just 2 figures in it, not much else. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some references into this document. To do this, the first thing you need to do is to install pandoc citeproc, which is a package that allows you to do citations in pandoc. Okay, I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again. When you do that, it will install. You can also find this in other repositories other than Homebrew. Okay, so once you've installed that, what we also need to do is I'm going to be using, what we need to do is we need to, within the folder write up, I'm going to create a folder called refs, and I'm going to now save from Zotero a BibTeX file. So I'll choose a collection. In my case, I'm going to choose my frozen soils, and I'm going to export collection as BibTeX. And I'm going to save it into that folder that I just created with the file name frozen soils. Save. Right, so now if I type ls, if I go into refs, I type ls, I can see I've got this file frozensoils.bib. And if I open it with Atom, which is a good text editor to use for these things, it's thinking, and here we are. So this is the file. And what you can see is it's just a list of all the papers in that collection. And in every case, I have this header line here, okay, which is the important bit. So you reference these papers by typing in something like that, okay. So what I'm going to do now is I will leave that one open, and I will come down into my document here, and I will open it also in Atom. Alright, here's my markdown document, and at the end of it I'm going to just try to include a reference. So I'm going to copy and paste one of these references. Let's just say this old one. Copy, paste, was perhaps the first person to use the soil. Alright, save this. Control or Command S. It's saved. Now, before I can compile that, I need to actually edit the make file as well. And you won't need to do this, I'm just going to do this once, and then it'll be fine. So filter pandoc go away, site prop, and then I have to tell it where the bibliography is. Bibliography equals refs frozen soils dot bib, isn't it? That's it. So I added, this bit tells it to use siteproc, and this bit tells it where the bibliography is located, that bib file. Alright, save that, back to the command line, and compile with make. Hopefully, now open the script, PDF, and go down to the bottom. And here we are. Schofield, 1935, was perhaps the first person to use the soil freezing characteristic curve. And then underneath that, I have my reference list. So it's all working very nicely. Now, let's go back into the document. Let's add a few more references so I can show you some other stuff. Let's just do this. Where's my reference list? Here it is. Let's take that one. Copy. No, I don't want to use square brackets. Head left center. Gave a deductive explanation for this phenomenon. And then I'm going to also reference Williams here. Oops. So where would Williams be? www, find Williams. William. There it is. So I'm going to cite this book, copy. What just happened? There we are. Plus paste. Okay. Let's save it. Let's compile it again. And let's open the manuscript again. And hopefully you can see what's happened. Schofield was perhaps the first person to use it. There's another reference, and there's another reference. So I've got 3 references now, and you can see I've got a list of 3 references at the bottom. So this is working beautifully. Now, one thing is I want to put a header before the reference list. So I'll go ahead and do that by, at the end of my document, typing hash reference is like that. And, well, let's just see what that does. Make open. Okay, that's much better. Let's So now you can see there's a header before the reference list. The references are alphabetical. It only includes the references that I'm actually using. So this is a very good way of doing referencing. Now, just looking, one last thing before I finish. If you look at the way I'm referencing, you simply do @ followed by that keyword that was associated in the bibtext file, right? The first keyword here, and so on. But if you put it in square brackets, it will reference it in brackets. So there's two, that's the other way that we sometimes use references, is we sometimes have them in brackets at the end of a sentence typically. So if you want this reference to be part of the sentence, you don't put brackets. Edlifson and Anderson, 1943, gave a deductive explanation, blah, blah, blah. And then Williams and Smith at the end, just showing you that this was also mentioned in that book. That's all there is to it. So I will go ahead now, since this is working nicely, I'm going to save it, quit. I'm going to sync this back to the server. So where am I? I'm in write up. Let's go down one level. Do git status and see what's changed. So I've modified the makefile, I've modified the script, I've also modified the manuscript. That's fine, and I've added this new folder with the references in. That's all good. So I'm just going to git add all of that. Git commit added referencing to markdown document. Git status. Git branch. So I'm on the master branch, which I shouldn't be, but I am. So let's do git pull origin master, just in case someone else has edited it. They haven't, it's up to date, so now I can do git push origin master. And it should all be pushed now. So if I click on here, refresh this, and have a look at my write-up, at my document here, there it all is. Okay, that's it. So that will definitely be useful. Hopefully you can work in this manner. And Atom seems to be a good editor to use.